Brothers and sisters of Christ, I feel a need to come out and say this. There's been a lot of recent, um, just sort of like talk, I would say, about beef within the CHH space, and I need to clarify some things on my part, and I just want to give a brief little mention to some stuff. So obviously, for anybody who is up to date with recent CHH stuff, there's been the whole talk of like supposed beef between Saya Thy Legend and DKG Kai. Um, if you don't know what happened, go and watch the live stream that Fast Break did over on their Instagram with Saya and DKG Kai and OK Warren. I believe it is just the best, source of information on that. So I won't speak to that. I still love Saya Thy Legend. He's my boy. He was on Cyanide. He's so fire. And DKG Kai is dope. I saw him at Smoke. He turned the room upside down. There was also the former, beef going on between John Keith and Bryson Gray, along with the whole like Indie Tribe, Indie 500 thing where Mowgli sort of went in on on that. Um, but I just want to say, like, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, and I think to a degree, calling out fellow brethren can be helpful to a degree because it brings things to light. Um, and, maybe it'll cause them to change. But I also think we have to be very careful because, um, we have to keep the world's perception in the back of our mind at all times because, as Christians, we're taught to forgive, and we are going to more than likely, most Christians are going to be more readily willing to forgive than the world will. And so, you know, if somebody has beef with another Christian artist, over time maybe that Christian artist will forgive the person they have beef with. But the world might not view it that way. And from the outside, the world might just see it as sort of like, oh, these Christians are fighting amongst each other. Why would I want to be a part of that? And it could, in the end, it could actually end up like, harming, the flock and causing people to, turn away from their faith or from Christianity and be like, why would I want to be a part of that? You Christians are fighting and bickering all the time. And we don't want to. We don't want to be a part of that, and we don't want to push for that type of a narrative. Um, but I will say, like, even Jesus, he called out Christians in his day. He even called out his own disciples in his day. But he still showed love and compassion to them when he did so. And we need to remember that. And, just at all times, remember that the whole world is watching. And I like what OK Warren said, where he said, in the live stream with Saya and DKG Kai, he said, if it's not needed in a song, then don't put it in a song. Just write it in a post. Um, because if you put a song out there for the whole world to see, it can cause problems. But I think it's also important to overstate and over clarify yourself when you do things. I'm not exempt from calling people out or from potentially stirring the pot a little bit. For those of you who listen to my music and who know me, I recently dropped a song called Discount Freestyle. And in the song, I call out Lecrae. But I have to clarify this, which I've already clarified it to some people, but I feel like I should just put this out into the ether for the sake of it. I say, I'm keeping it righteous. I'm never ratchet. I'm not Lecrae. When I got blood bought by Jesus Cristo, I had to put that away. Talking Corinthians, Kendrick, and Cardi, maybe that's because they're the same. Living their life in cahoots with the devil, they'll never see heaven if they never change. And I just want to clarify, I'm not really calling out Lecrae specifically. Yes, I name drop him, but I'm not shooting Lecrae down. I'm mostly just calling out what he did with that whole scenario. For those of you who don't know, Lecrae dropped, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't know, but Lecrae dropped a merch line called the Righteous and Ratchet merch line. And there was merch for guys and merch for girls. The guys' merch said, I can quote Kendrick and Corinthians. The girls' merch said, I can quote Cardi B and Corinthians. And I just don't really support that. The whole point of that thing was like him saying he's unabashedly righteous and unabashedly ratchet. He's of the streets and of Christ. And it's kind of like, the Bible says we're supposed to be in the world, not of the world. And the whole thing with like saying I can quote Kendrick and Corinthians, I can quote Cardi B and Corinthians. Maybe you can, but I don't know that that's something I would be proud of. Cardi B is very, very much not a Christian artist, and she's made some very provocative, very uh, personally outright disgusting music, in my opinion. And I would say the same thing for Kendrick. Now there are some people who would argue that the Kendrick and Corinthians merch is a little less so than the Cardi B merch, just because Kendrick is known as like a quality like lyricist who actually thinks about his lyrics and really cares about his craft. But I would say, at the end of the day, it goes for both of them. They're both just not Christian artists, and they say some pretty outlandish, wild stuff. I mean, Kendrick's album, the Big Steppers album, he's literally equating himself to Jesus and saying he's God, and I can't agree with that. So I was more so calling out, um, what he specifically did with that merch versus actually calling out Lecrae, because I want to be very, very clear. I have seen Lecrae twice in concert. I have a ton of his music on my Spotify. I even have some of his music here. I own the Anomaly album, so I rock with Lecrae. I think Lecrae is dope. He is a fire Christian artist. He makes dope music, has super dope lyrics. CC4 was an incredible album. Anomaly is an incredible album. I love Lecrae, and I love what he's done for the space. Arguably, he is kind of like the Tupac of CHH for a lot of us. A lot of us got into Christian rap and hip hop because of him. Um, but I did call him out for that, thing that he did, because I want to keep it a buck and just show that I don't really rock with that. But I still love Lecrae, and I think we as Christians and Christian artists need to remember that even if we are calling out each other and calling out other Christians, we need to remember that, God can use anybody. It's kind of like No Big Deal talks about this on his podcast when he's talking about listening to secular music. And he says that, anything that the secular world uses to make music is something that was made by God. God created everything. The world was made by God. And um, so, there are people out there who can take this stuff that God created and they can twist it and make it evil, but there's still a little bit of what God created in there. And so you can listen to secular music and God can still speak to you through it. It's the same thing with, I grew up in a church that was KJV only. But my grandmother was saved out of an NIV. Sure, there are going to be differences, but you can still find something from God out of that. And so just remember that God can use anybody. And, what I don't necessarily agree with that decision that Lecrae made, but there are people coming to Christ and there are people getting saved because of Lecrae. So I'm never going to trash him or beat down his ministry for that reason. And Saya and DKG talked about that as well, where it was like both of them are bringing people to Christ and people are getting saved because of both of their ministries. So why would we want that beef? Why would we want to fight and, hold these things against each other when God is literally using us to bring people to Christ? So just I don't really know why I felt that I needed to make this video. I just wanted to sort of clarify my stance on what I said about Lecrae, and I wanted to let the world know that I still rock with Lecrae, and I'm not, hating on everything that he does, because I know that God is using him, and I know that God has used him, and I know that, you know, Lecrae has influenced so many artists that even if Lecrae wasn't an influence for me, somebody who was influenced by Lecrae was an influence for me. And so I count myself very blessed to be able to make Christian hip hop. And I know there's a lot of us. I mean, John Keith had even said it when he went on Sway in the Morning. Like, so many of us owe it to Lecrae for why we're in CHH. So I would never completely bash his ministry or him as a person. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I wanted to give those little nuggets of, I guess, wisdom or whatever for you people to think about when, you start trashing other Christians or trashing other artists or anybody really. Like, think about it. And maybe don't even, if you need, if you need to, you can always just go to them directly, or you can make a post about it, rather than making like a huge thing about it. I don't know, it might feel somewhat hypocritical what I'm saying, after what I said in my song, but I just wanted to clarify that I do still rock with Lecrae, and I'm not hating on him. I'm just calling out the actual thing that he did. um and I think he has since like apologized for it, so I totally get it. um we all make mistakes, but God can use anybody to bring people to Christ. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was somewhat helpful and a little bit thought-provoking and maybe enlightening to you guys. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. This time it's for real. Love you guys. Peace.